go see Jumanji 2? It's got The Rock in it.
Anyone who has met me knows that I have a fascination, no, an undying love for one man. And as you can probably guess from the title of this video, that man is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. There are a few indicators of my love for The Rock. Yeah, just a few. This love has also led to the creation of some artworks. What started as a meme kind of transitioned into something that I can't fully explain, as time and time again I found myself watching all of The Rock's movies and finding constant joy, despite being told by critics, reviewers, and my friends that they're garbage. The result is that I hold The Rock in a special place in my heart, as an actor who is able to bring fun to basically any movie I watch. I guess the aim of this video is to break down how I perceive Dwayne Johnson and what he means to me. He definitely needs the support, as he obviously hasn't been successful in the movie world. As a side note, although The Rock is famous for his involvement in the WWE, I personally do not know too much about this period and thus will solely be focusing on his career as an actor, which began in 2001 with The Mummy Returns.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Now, Dwayne himself has some easily identifiable qualities which immediately draw my eyes to him. I mean, look at him. The man is 48 and looks absolutely amazing. Like, damn. Oh, damn, he's hot. Like, that's a hot man. Like, getting back on track, not only is The Rock ripped, but he's also bald. This means absolutely nothing, apart from the fact that you can see the top of his head more easily, and in my eyes, that's a positive. I would be lying if I said I haven't wanted to feel the smooth texture of The Rock's head. It's quite clear to see that The Rock is the peak of human evolution, as I believe that he would come out on top if all current actors and celebrities had to duke it out to the death in a Battle Royale style tournament. However, while Dwayne's appearance is an important factor, his personality is also a huge part of his image. DJ appears as a tough yet friendly, intimidating yet kind, stoic yet humorous kind of guy. He's able to be both serious, funny, and anything in between. This is clearly demonstrated by his willingness to appear in all kinds of media. For example, The Rock has appeared in a video with Matt Pat and Ali A about Pokemon Go. He has uploaded his own YouTube videos of himself reacting to his old movies, and more recently gave a passionate speech about the Black Lives Matter movement. Literally today, I found out that The Rock even helped to present the original Xbox with Bill Gates. Dwayne's ability to consistently bring his highly likable character traits into any scenario and medium means that I am happy to see him doing basically anything at this point. His persona and legacy just make it absolutely hilarious to see him anywhere. It isn't just a celebrity presenting something or being in an interview. It's The Rock. Moving on, let's dissect Dwayne's acting career by looking at the movies he's in.
Okay, Rock, you can't cancel.
It's you or me. You get it, yes, you brought me.
Okay, Rock.
Oh, I just can't win when I smell what he's cooking.
After years of research, I have concluded that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's movies can be broken down into three main categories. The first one of these being
I see trees of green, red roses too.
These movies are some of the absolute best and worst of The Rock. I call them Dwayne movies because, unsurprisingly, they star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the leading role. Without fail, These movies will range from a 4 to a 7 out of 10, and will most of the time be completely stupid. Almost every single one of these movies will be a one-shot action movie, sometimes bringing in more comedic elements when necessary. What I find absolutely fascinating is that in these movies, Dwayne will play almost the exact same character regardless of the plot, to the extent that I fully believe that the films Rampage, San Andreas, and Skyscraper are actually a trilogy in that order in which The Rock moves from disaster to disaster. The consistency of these movies being absolutely stupid and objectively kind of trash is what brings me back to them time and time again. That being said, let's quickly review some of the more notable movies. To do this, I will be using a modified Rock movie scale, where a 10 out of 10 translates to around a 7 out of 10 compared to other movies.
Get your fucking hands off my brownies. That's what that is.
This is where it all began, being The Rock's first solo film, and honestly, it's a solid pick. Despite being an early Rock film, this movie captures a lot of the essence of what makes a Dwayne movie great, having enough stupidity and absurdity to be very enjoyable. There are some banger scenes in this film, but the one that stands out to me is early in the film when The Rock's brother gets shot full of arrows as they sneak into the camp, and The Rock's reaction is one of absolute disappointment and slight annoyance rather than sadness.
Back!
If you want to get a taste of the vibe of this film as a whole, watch The Rock's Rock React video of this movie. It's a great watch. That being said, the movie can get a little boring sometimes due to issues with pacing. 7.5 out of 10 Rock movie.
No, I do not want a banana.
This film is the peak of solo Rock films and one of my personal favorites. It is so dumb, yet so entertaining, and I had so much fun watching The Rock in this movie. This is the only movie where The Rock is consistently the smallest thing on screen, as he scrambles around trying to fight ungodly monsters to little avail. In no other movie can you see The Rock wielding a grenade launcher against giant monsters. This movie also features a gorilla, who is not only capable of using sign language, which leads to the amazing scene of The Rock signing his family were killed by poachers.
Poachers killed his entire family. He's in your troop now. I want you to welcome him. Welcome, Pavo. George, you and I cool? Come on.
But this gorilla is also capable of spearing a giant crocodile monster in the head at the climax of the movie, in a truly spectacular fashion. The villains in this movie are also so ridiculously evil that they're very enjoyable to see get killed. Big Rock plus Big Monkey equals an 11 out of 10 Rock movie.
What a wonderful world.
This movie is so mediocre, and that's by Rock movie standards. It's a very standard disaster type film where about 70% of it is cool destruction shots. I feel that this movie will go down in history as just being that one disaster film with The Rock in it, as everything else is kind of bland. I'm honestly trying to think about more things to say about it, but nothing really stands out to me. I do like the wholesome English guy and his brother, and The Rock does do some cool shit like always, but compared to the danger present in Rampage, this movie does fall somewhat flat. What this movie does do right though, is the start of combining this with this, which as we will see, is expanded upon in later movies. I'd give this a 6 out of 10 on the Rock movie scale.
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
Shut up, bitch!
Out of my proposed rock disaster trilogy, which I mentioned earlier, I think Skyscraper is the worst of the three. However, part of me holds it higher than San Andreas simply because it's kind of a good, awful movie. As many people have already pointed out, the physics in this movie make no sense, as there is no way The Rock can make the jump featured on the promotional material for this movie. Overall, there are some cool action scenes of The Rock overcoming different height-related obstacles, and while I dislike the presence of The Rock's family in the movie, it does add a somewhat unique dynamic. The whole feel of this movie is just kind of odd, but I do give it props for trying something different than your usual run-of-the-mill action movie. A somewhat enjoyable 5 out of 10. Okay, hear me out. Conceptually, this movie should be the greatest movie of all time. Remember how I talked about how San Andreas combines The Rock with Alexandra Daddario? Well, this movie takes that concept and improves it in every way possible by adding the beach. Indeed, this movie has The Rock, hot women, and an environment in which The Rock will be shirtless most of the time. Brilliant. Zac Efron is also there and he's pretty hot too, but the whole movie my eyes were glued to The Rock's bulging pectoral muscles. However, despite having an amazing exterior, I would be lying to say that the actual feeling of this movie is pretty average and sometimes just bad. More times than I would like, the jokes aren't that funny, which is pretty essential to a comedy movie. Rather, the funniest moments for me came from seeing The Rock on the beach doing rock things. The actual plot is ridiculous enough to be enjoyable despite being pretty dumb, and to be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing more of this world, but at the same time, I also wouldn't be in pain if we didn't. Perfect junk food movie, 7 out of 10 on the Rock scale.
Alright! Yeah!
This movie is a good representative of the Rock and Kevin Hart style movies, in which the main dynamic is The Rock doing something ridiculous and crazy, while Kevin Hart screams and sometimes says funny jokes. I do believe that The Rock and Kevin Hart make a pretty good movie duo, and I prefer them to other duos such as Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. This movie ticks the ridiculous box that I like to see in Rock movies, as The Rock is basically a god who can disappear and reappear at will whenever the plot needs it. The one scene where he appears as the marriage counselor unironically cracked me up. However, this movie stands out to me as being made 100 times better if you view it as a psychological thriller, where The Rock's character is actually delusional and is going more and more insane. What is crazy to me is that this isn't really addressed in the movie despite being brought up, and this is the only Rock movie which left me completely bewildered about the plot and eventual resolution, as nothing is really explained. The Rock is held up as a hero, but I'm not sure about what his plan was, because it seemed pretty evil. I don't want to spoil too much of the movie, as I feel this is one of the few Rock films where the plot actually kind of matters, but for the confusing, deceptive nature of the plot itself, this movie gets a solid 8 out of 10 on the Rock movie scale. And before anyone asks, yes, this movie has fat CGI Rock. This is the worst version of Dwayne. Where is his muscles? Where is Hot Dwayne? I want Hot Dwayne back. I really enjoy both Jumanji films. You have a likable cast of The Rock, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan as leads, with a fun plot, enjoyable world, and overall just a good time. My only real problem with these movies is that they both suffer from a bit of the OG Assassin's Creed syndrome, where I did not give a shit about the first part of the movies before they are in the game. However, I will say that the start of Jumanji 2 is more enjoyable, considering it does have Danny DeVito. Now, due to these movies not only starring The Rock, he is not the complete focus of the story. Despite this, the depiction of The Rock in these movies is among the best, as he is given his proper role of being a person with incomparable destructive capabilities, having super strength, speed, and continuing the trend of looking absolutely sexy. There's not a lot to complain about in these movies, and they're very fun to watch with friends due to having a straightforward narrative. As for which one is better, I personally enjoyed Jumanji 2 more, however they are both pretty close together and I could definitely see the original surpassing my love for the sequel given a rewatch. It should be noted that I also saw Jumanji 2 before Jumanji 1, and thus it may be even better than I remembered. if you actually know who the characters are before watching it. I give Jumanji 1 an 8.5 and Jumanji 2 a 9.
I see trees of green, red roses too.
I unironically enjoyed basically all of these movies, which really made me ask myself as a person who watches movies whether I value movies that are good or movies that are enjoyable more. It's really quite funny to scroll down The Rock's IMDb page and see that most of these movies are average at best, if not downright awful. And yet this never bothered me. I guess my sense of humor means that I value the stupidest things imaginable, and these one-shot Rock movies really nail that. However, let's move on to the next category of Rock movies, which stand out as enigmas compared to the rest of the catalog.
It doesn't matter what you think!
This category is pretty short, which is a little sad to say. This is probably because if you're gonna have The Rock in your movie, who due to his success is gonna cost a lot of money, he's probably going to be the main character, thus giving the movie a high chance of turning into a Dwayne movie. This is not to say that having The Rock in a leading role automatically turns the movie bad, but being the man he is, The Rock tends to steal the spotlight. Having not seen all of Dwayne's movies, there are probably some that deserve to be in this category, which I will not be mentioning. However, in my mind, there is only one movie that deserves to be talked about here.
Okay. I see what's happening, yeah.
Moana is my favorite Disney movie, and before anyone says it, yes, I am heavily biased due to The Rock being in it. However, this movie is unironically a good watch, portraying a fun, unique adventure story with a lot of charm and fantastic songs. The one that obviously stands out is You're Welcome, which features Dwayne on vocals, and my god, the man can actually sing. Speaking of Dwayne, his character in the movie Maui is one of his best, managing to capture the classic Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson energy without even showing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Unlike most characters he plays, Maui actually has character development and learns things throughout the movie which in the end make him a better person. This is completely forgetting Moana herself, who I actually really enjoyed as a character. The charming atmosphere and wholesome tale of adventure, which draws from a culture pretty unexplored in the mainstream movie world, makes this a must-see for those who enjoy The Rock. This is a fantastic blend of DJ and Disney, and for this reason, I give it a genuine, so forgetting The Rock scale, 9 out of 10.
What can I say except you're welcome for the tides, the sun, the sky?
There is one more category of movies Dwayne is involved in, which I feel needs to be talked about. These movies are my personal favorite out of his entire collection and surpass all Dwayne movies in terms of my enjoyment. I will not be giving these movies a number score because I wholeheartedly recommend all of them. But for those wondering, all of these movies would be rated higher than every single Dwayne movie previously mentioned. As some of you may have already guessed by now, the movies I'm talking about are those where Dwayne is involved with one series. Fast and Furious. Some will say that around Fast and Furious 4, the franchise started to go downhill, becoming less realistic and more stupid. To this, I completely agree. To the fact that it does become less realistic and more stupid. However, I believe that this makes the following films an absolute blast to watch, and in this way superior to their predecessors. More action, faster cars, and more ridiculous set pieces. These are the things that I love about the recent Fast and Furious movies. When does Fast and Furious truly start becoming more insane and action-packed? Fast 5, which also marks the introduction of one man.
We didn't kill those feds. Those Reyes.
I don't give a shit. Just here to bring in two assholes whose names hit my desk.
In Fast 5, we are introduced to Luke Hobbs. Note how I'm addressing him by his movie name rather than just The Rock. That's because Luke Hobbs deserves the respect of being called by his proper title. He is the character all other Rock characters wished they were. Not only does he encapsulate everything a Rock character should be, being strong, tough, stern yet witty, and absolutely badass, but he also encapsulates the feel of the new Fast and Furious as a whole. He blurs the line between being an almost satirical character while also being serious, as he says the most absurd one-liners and accomplishes insane feats throughout his appearances in Fast 5, 6, 7, and Hobbs and Shaw. As a side note, I haven't seen Fast 8 yet, but I do plan to watch it. Just take a look at the scene where Hobbs is introduced in Fast 5.
All right, listen up. The men we're after are professional runners. They like speed and guaranteed to go down the hardest possible way, so make sure you got your underwear on. We find them, we take them as a team, and we bring them back. And above all else, we don't ever let them get in the cars. Crime scene's 10 hours old and counting, men. Let's go hunting.
Well, if there's anything we can do to help the DSA...
Two things. One, I need a translator.
Claro, we have plenty in the public
Elena
relations...
Nieves.
A patrol officer.
You heard me.
But why? We have many more experienced people.
I like her smile.
What's the second thing?
Stay out of my way.
Good news, bad news.
You know I like my dessert first.
Follow the trail a couple of miles, pretty easy in this scrub. Can't move without leaving sign.
Give me the damn veggies.
The dessert and veggies line had me dying the first time I saw it, because The Rock says this and other strange lines with such conviction throughout the movie that it's hard not to laugh. The beauty of Hobbs in the Fast and Furious franchise is how his character is so consistent despite all the crazy stuff going on around him. We know Hobbs is badass, we're told and shown that repeatedly, but this is combined with the somewhat goofy attitude and characteristics which The Rock portrays to create such a perfect character. We know Hobbs will do something insane over the course of the movie, and when he delivers, the amount of hype generated is incomparable. Luke Hobbs is probably one of my favourite characters in all of fiction simply because of The Rock's portrayal of him.
It's raining men. Hallelujah, it's raining men. Amen.
To demonstrate how amazing this character is, I'm going to list some of the things he does in these movies.
One man! Alone! Stop saying that! Betrayed by the country he loves.
Fights Vin Diesel and chases him through the rooftops of the favela. Aids the main crew in a heist to steal a huge vault from the leader of a criminal organization. Jumps off a bridge without hesitation onto a moving car to stop the bad guy from getting away. Fights a huge dude on a plane being towed down by cars driving alongside it and wins. Fights Jason Statham. Falls out of a building and lives. Flexes off a cast. Drives an ambulance off a bridge into a highly weaponized drone, destroying it. Stands off against an attack helicopter, wielding the machine gun of the drone he just destroyed with the ambulance. Shoots a bag of grenades on a helicopter with a revolver, killing a terrorist in a giant explosion. The entirety of Hobbs and Shaw.
Tell your mom I said hi. Actually, I'll tell her myself.
Speaking of Hobbs and Shaw, it's perhaps unsurprising that it's my favourite Fast and Furious movie, and that's probably my favourite Rock movie of all time. The Rock and Jason Statham are so good together in this movie, and the entire time they're involved in amazing action scenes and set pieces. To sum it up, it's The Rock and Jason Statham fighting a super soldier while they get to drive fast cars and other vehicles, as well as take the piss out of each other. What more could you want? The Rock also returns to his home in Samoa and then proceeds to beat the shit out of the bad guys with his brothers when the time comes. The movie is actually pretty funny as well, containing some funny lines which got me to laugh at the writing more than just The Rock doing rock things. This movie is the perfect stupid action movie to the point that any flaws it may have are completely overshadowed by how fun it is to watch. And I'm excited to watch it again after I view Fast 8.
When I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Discussing the characters Dwayne plays is very important to understanding why I enjoy watching him. An important thing to note about discussing this is that all characters, except for Hobbs, are always The Rock and have no other names or identities. This is due not only to The Rock's recognizable appearance and brand, but also due to the fact that he plays the exact same character in every movie, so it's much more logical to assume that it's just The Rock being thrust into these different scenarios rather than anyone else. The character he plays is always a super muscular, semi-serious yet witty walking embodiment of masculinity who is probably current or ex-military. During the movie, there will be jokes made about his muscles, which peaks in the famous peck pop scene in Journey to the Mysterious Island. These characteristics are staples of The Rock's performances and are to be expected when viewing one of his movies, which makes it quite jarring when they are actually not present. I often find myself wondering if I've somehow missed a scene if the movie ends without someone asking The Rock something like, do you work out, or how much do you lift? Another reason for why The Rock's characters are so similar is probably because he usually stays within one genre, that being action/action comedy for a majority of the time. I personally find The Rock pretty funny, however I don't think it's necessarily due to the things The Rock is saying, but rather how his characters fit within the world around him. His overall legacy of being The Rock makes a lot of scenes funnier than they should be. He uses the environments he's put in and the scenarios he's faced with to create moments which, no matter how serious they may appear, are still made somewhat lighthearted and comical due to him being The Rock. Do I think The Rock deserves an Oscar for his performances? Memes aside, probably not. Do I think he is a good actor? Absolutely. I think a good actor is one who is enjoyable to watch regardless of what they are performing. And for me at least, I always enjoy seeing The Rock doing rock things regardless of how bad everything else around him may be. Due to his success and prominence, even if his movies are bad, they're going to be high quality bad movies, which I find a lot of enjoyment out of. I really recommend watching dumb movies like this with your friends and just having a laugh. From experience, I can tell you that it's a lot of fun.
Till next time.
Till next time.
The ridiculous nature of both The Rock's movies as well as his characters means that despite being in a lot of bad films, his catalogue of movies offers an amazing experience when watched in the right mindset and with the right people. The success and reputation he's built for himself means that his movies are going to be high quality dumb movies, which, despite what a lot of people say, I believe have a place in the film industry. For these reasons, I can comfortably say that The Rock is my favourite actor and celebrity out of all the talent out there. Okay, now I'm gonna go watch Rampage and make lots of monkey noises when the gorilla is on screen. Bye!
Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. What a wonderful world. What a wonderful world. What a wonderful world.
Thanks for watching. I put a lot more effort into this than I'd like to admit, and I hope it was enjoyable to watch. If it was, perhaps drop a like and, maybe check out some of the other garbage I've put up on this channel. Thank you.